Sengoku Dynasty is a village management and building game set in the Sengoku Jidai warring period of feudal Japan that is a very enjoyable and beautiful game to play. With this guide, we're going to look at 12 quick tips and some bonus tips here and there to make your playthrough more enjoyable. Let's get right into it. Tip number 1 is know where all your extra items are. When you first crash on the shoreline, you can wander around and gather these items from the boat. There's some knives, there's sticks, there are other items in this crate here and here as well. Some of these come with unlocks. When you pick up your first rock, you unlock certain recipes. And more importantly, on this little island here, there are some key items, including a rope, fishing net, copper adze, and some water. There's also a copper axe this way. As you come through here and you see Akko, you're going to take a little bit of a turn here, go into the forest, passing through these trees, and you're looking for a spot where there are 2 rock walls and a bridge going over the top. And you'll see it as we're getting closer here. We will see that there are some key items, and that copper axe is the best thing in the world to start with, and we're going to use this as perhaps our forever tool until we get better tools later when we get our regional unlock of Iwasaki and iron tools. Now, when that copper axe breaks, you can easily repair it. What you'll need to do is go and build a repair stand. Go to basic structures and then have 100 coins, and then all you need are 3 planks and 4 straw, which you can easily get from the broken down village of Sasogi. And once you have this built, you can repair your copper axe. It's as simple as clicking on it, going up to woodcutting tools, and taking your copper axe that is broken and repairing it with 3 copper ore. Congratulations, you have a copper axe that is as good as new and has much more durability than the stone axes that you're making at the start of the game. Our next tip is in making early money. As you're starting out here, gather up stones and gather up sticks by simply either holding down E, or if you're on a controller, you can wander around and hold down either X if it is an Xbox style controller, or I believe you'll be doing square on a PlayStation controller. But you're going to gather up as many sticks and stones as you are willing to carry. It takes only a few of them to build what we need to build. We're going to be building stone adzes. You first need to build your stone axe. Then you can handcraft stone adzes, which cost you 3 sticks and 3 stones. And as we're running towards the person we're going to sell to, I am just looking down at the ground periodically and still picking up stones as I go. So I don't even need to change my pathway. I can even gather the stones that I need to get as I'm walking towards this person up the path. Then we're going to craft a big stack of stone adzes. You do get a bonus piece of experience right when you craft it for the very first time, and that's not bad. Once we have all these adzes, we're going to sell as many as we can to Chiyomi here. And she will buy these stone adzes for 11.40 coins, which is more than any of the other early tools that you can sell. Now you'll notice I've gotten a Way of the Monk point. Now I have a level in Way of the Monk, and I also have 171 coins. I can buy this rice seed bag soon. I could buy the gobo seed bag soon. I'm in a great spot. I can do this with any vendor at the start of the game as long as I have sticks and stones. The next tip is not to fear the raiders. It's gonna feel like as soon as you build your village, there's suddenly a raider coming in. The reason for it is that as soon as you build your general storage, that counts as the place where the raiders can steal things from, and your accumulation of wealth and the number of points, raid points, that you have in your village area that you build in contributes to whether you'll get a raid or not. And you're always going to get a raid right away at the start of the game because you'll generate raid points. So, reason I say don't fear the raider is that when this negotiator shows up, go ahead and talk to them, but then they're only going to charge you 100. You're going to have 100 coins, but do not pay them off right away. Keep this person around because you can sell anything you want to them, and they've got a bunch of money that they're more than happy to separate themselves with so that you can get richer. So enjoy having your negotiator around who you can just sell all the stone adzes that you want to. Be sure you pay them off before the raid is going to be happening. So my raid is expected in 2 days, so I'll work for 2 more days, and then part way through that day I'll go over and talk to him and pay him 100 coins and he'll disappear. You cannot go across your seasonal divide until you deal with your raid, whether you pay them off or whether you fight the individuals. If you choose to fight, people will show up, you'll hear a bell going off, and they'll go straight for your general storage, and you have to defeat the enemies as they show up. As a mini tip, remember inventory management. When you have all these things sitting in your inventory, be sure that you actually use your hotbar as a place to store things. Even if you're not going to use this item, put it somewhere where it has a place and that it doesn't take up spots in your inventory that you could otherwise use for something that would be important to you in the middle of combat, or an open space for you to take on more logs or more other items as you're going. Another quick tip is how to move things rapidly from one inventory to another. Now, if you are on a mouse and keyboard, this is amazing. Congratulations, this will be wonderful. You can hold down the left shift key and simply left click on any stack of things, and boom, it automatically goes into whatever inventory you are dropping it into as long as it can. That's really convenient. Now on a controller, you can press X and then you can quickly press right trigger and then you can press A. But unfortunately, it's kind of like a get used to the keystroke combo where you're going to basically be pressing, for me, X and then right trigger and then A. And then you can kind of rapidly go through these. Otherwise, honestly, another alternative can be to just drop everything in there by holding down X and then pull back the things that you want to. But honestly, that doesn't feel too fast. It feels more like now I have to go back and forth. You can hold down left shift and click and send an entire stack over. It will go into different sizes of stacks based upon what inventory it's in. For example, your player inventory has limits on how much stacking will be allowed, and other inventories have different rules for that. Getting bronze is way easier now. You can build yourself a pick early in the game, as soon as you have sticks and stones, and then you will be finding copper all throughout the area in Sasogi. For example, this is by our copper axe. There's even more by the axe. And note that you can harvest any large copper, medium copper, or small copper deposits. This will not be the same for tin, but it will be close. And as we go, we're going to gather up over 40 ore is what we're looking for. You may even choose to spend a point in craftsman to get ourselves skillful miner so that it takes less stamina to use your pick. There's also more copper here near the village of Sasogi, next to one of the quest lines that you do. And please do make note that around this rock wall here, it's really convenient to gather the eggs and feathers so you can be making early arrows for your bow. You'll also find a lot here in Sasogi, and really copper is kind of just distributed around the Sasogi area. Tin is not far away on the hillside. As you can see, here's a bunch here, and this is not far away from Sasogi. I just ran straight up the hill, and I can still see the fruit trees from here. Remember, you cannot mine the large deposits, but you can mine the small and medium deposits with your stone pick. I tend to get my tin while I'm going over here to finish up our quest line, well, to start and to finish our quest line up with Kengoyo, where you're supposed to help out this young man in hunting for rabbits and learning how you craft your basic hunting implements. But there's a bunch of tin in this area that you can easily harvest while you are here. So take advantage of that while you're already doing the quest line. Once you build your workshop, it's easy to finish up that smelter by getting firewood from some of these smaller trees if you don't already have access to making firewood at a workstation. Otherwise, you can make firewood by taking a log and turn it into 8 firewood at a workstation at your woodcutter's hut. And that is a way more efficient way to get firewood because you're going to need a lot of it. Under jobs or under assigning a person individually, assign one of your workers to making bronze. It doesn't matter who it is, but it does matter that we have enough resources. Now you will note that because I don't have any firewood, we're in a tricky spot. Once you have enough, you can produce 40 bronze in a single work cycle. And remember, your villagers only produce in the late afternoon, so it doesn't matter when you start assigning this person. Just make sure you assign them before the end of the day when they produce. And I use a worker for this because it goes way faster if they just produce it at the end of the day. If you put things into the smelter, you're going to find that it goes at an incredibly slow pace, and you will not get your resources as quick as you could have. I will have 40 bronze, and with that I'll be able to make fast travel locations. Once we have our bronze, we unlock a quick recipe, which is really nice, but also with fast travel locations, which you will be able to unlock once you have 4 dynasty points. And you'll have to get to the point where, well, 5 dynasty points because you have to get 4 and then you spend 1 here. Traveler Outpost costs you 8 bamboo, 2 bronze, and 2 plank. When you're out traveling about, maybe you want to stop at a spot and you want to build something. Like maybe I want to finish this special project out here. So I'll take out my hammer and I'll build myself a fast travel location under basic structures and Traveler Outpost. And then we will build this thing up with our resources. And congratulations, now you have a point that you can fast travel from to any of the places you've already visited, and you also have a little storage that you can use. Please also know that you can move this. So if I finish up building on this thing and I'm like, hey, I could still use this to go into this cave over here by these bears, maybe I want to put it closer where the bears are so I can get in and get out of here in a flash. Your next tip is all about the items that you're going to get once you make your first field. Remember to make a field right away, as soon as you're able to. Make a land field. It doesn't have to be very large. A 2x2 will do. Once you do that, you've unlocked some very helpful tools. First thing that's useful, we'll go to farming in our workshop, after you've built your workshop, of course. A wooden hoe, and the overpowered and amazingly wonderful shovel. When you equip your wooden hoe, you can do some decorating. That's a lot of fun. When you right click, you can then plant certain things, like you can put decorative grasses around. Also put in bushes. If you have lingonberries and wineberries, you can put up lingonberry and wineberry bushes. And then you can also plant trees, of course. You can plant flowers, and then mushrooms, which you do need to have the mushrooms to build, but it is pretty to put around in certain places. Do keep in mind that when you pick these, they're gone. Now the shovel on the other hand, is overpowered. While primarily for getting rid of things that you don't want to grow back, I can get rid of it, it won't grow back ever again. Otherwise, trees that you chop down will grow back after about a couple years. You can also permanently remove any item. If I thought this bush was in the way for some reason and I was building something, I can remove it and it will not grow back. All the plants do grow back in the areas that they're in, but you can get rid of that with the shovel. Now at the same time, the shovel can harvest any small deposit of any kind. That means small stone, that means small copper. Now it does not come back, but as far as I understand, resource deposits don't regenerate each season. And even if they do, once you get your village online, you're going to gather most of those resources through village jobs. Keep in mind that the shovel, and I'm pressing E right now, I'm using the key that says permanently remove. If I was using my controller, it would be X to permanently remove, and I can take any of these deposits I want. You can also use the standard animation to dig. It tends to be quicker and easier with just using X or E. Now this is nice because I can already build water fields, and that allows me to grow rice, which is a very important resource in this game. But the most important thing is that this allows you to get iron immediately at the start of the game. Once you travel to, for example, this is in Enjiro, and there's a mine here. When I go inside and I find this small iron deposit, I already have iron now. I'm going to go through here and get as much iron as I can get away with because, you know, why not? Iron is a vital resource, as we know. And it will allow me to build the smithy, and once I have the smithy, I can start thinking about building things like chiseled stone, and that's with getting the chisel, of course. And it also allows me some really early, very powerful weapons and items. Now with all the clay and stone that we've gathered, and the fact that we've unlocked the smithy because we got iron for the first time, and by the way, you can go to Iwasaki and you can go into the mine there and gather iron with the shovel. Look at that. We now, this stage in the game, this early on, I can already build an iron weapon. Actually, I can build an iron naginata, which I find much more preferable to the spear. I can also make a simple tanto, which is amazing because, little bonus mini tip here, the simple tanto is a knife and stabbing weapon, which means it is both a knife for skinning and a deadly weapon, and it does decent damage. I find that to be a very effective way to go about the early game. We also can immediately buy and use iron arrows, which damage-wise is huge, and we've bypassed bronze completely. The more important thing is chisel for making chiseled stone, which is a very important early resource, and all we have to do is purchase the cooking pot, and we can immediately make our own cooking pot to make the best meals early on. It's worth noting that chisels do sell for quite a bit of coin, and tantos do also sell for quite a bit of coin as well. Once you have that cooking pot, go to your earth, change the type to a sunken earth with cooking pot, and now you can do the cooking earth with cooking pot workstation as well. And now look at all of the options we have. It is very early in the game, and I'm already at the point where I get to choose how I do all my meals. I'll probably go with dango for most of the start. I can make oil out of fish and water, and I can make major beverages. I can make a couple of key beverages. Doburoku will be a while, and that's worth a lot of money. But this is huge. This is a really, really handy place to be. Cooked rice may not be where it used to be, but cooked rice is still very useful. Next, we look at workstations and buildings and what can you do with your buildings that should be done additionally or maybe less so. With all of your buildings, you don't have to build the storages, but you really do want to be sure you build the workstations. And while you're building the workstations, be sure that you know that when you go to furniture, and you go to production furniture, and you go to that building type, that you can add more workstations. Now for the woodcutter's hut, this is great because now I have 2 working stations for 1. And I can make each of these either a processing station for chop down the logs and then process the logs into planks, or I can just have it as 2 extra workstations that are functional for me. As said before, remember you don't need anything beyond the general storage for quite a while. In order for a building to be functional, you do not have to build all of the storages. You just need to have a general storage around. You also do not have to build the beds. For example, this will allow me 1 more villager to have 1 more bed in this place. But if I want to be silly, and I want to say, nah, this is going to be the fishing hut to end all fishing huts. There's going to be so many workstations in here, it's going to be silly. We'll go to production furniture, I'll go to fisherman's hut, and I'll go to fisherman's workplace. I'm going to make it so they can fit. And then to place multiple, I hold down left shift on the mouse and keyboard. There's also a thumbstick button you can hold down on console. And then I'll click and put 1 down, click, put 1 down. We have to have more space for that one. Click and put that one down, and I need to get rid of the ghost of that one before I can put this one down. But I can just be silly and add it right there. Now, look at that, just put it right there. Now, does it matter that nobody can fit through this walkway? No, because people do the work regardless of whether they stand at the workstation or not. And now I have a fishing hut that's going to have an excessive amount of fisherman workplaces. And then if I can get the boat to work, I would also have even more fishing workstations as well. The same is true for houses. In this, you go to furniture, house furniture, beds, and you can add 2 extra beds. Now, we can add 2 more in this structure, and now we have a total of 4 beds. And here we can also add 2 more beds. In the simple house that you build at the very start of the game, you can add 1 more bed. There we are. Now we have 2 more beds, and we will have a total of 6 beds for this. If you at some point decide you don't like the look of these beds, go to F and you can change the type to whatever you've unlocked. In this case, there we are. I have switched it over to sleeping mat. Keep in mind that this does not have an impact at this time in the game. Will it have an impact later? Probably, and it'll probably impact happiness. Placing multiple also works with buildings. So let's say I want to place more than 1 standard house. I'm holding down left shift, or with the console I'd be pressing down the left stick. I can then press the left mouse button or press the place button, and now I can place as many houses as I want in a row. It's not going to cost me the resources until I actually begin building, but now I have a row of 3 houses and I can just get into building them. Next tip has to do with perks. Taking Ebisu's Boon is really helpful early game, and you'll notice that I've had to take a bunch to get to Traveler Outposts. I took 3 in this as quick as I could. Any containers that you find out and about while you're looting, while you're taking enemies down, they all can be subject to this boon. The sooner you take this, the better, and don't open containers until you have it. The moment you open the container, it determines the quality of the loot. So as long as you wait, you'll get this benefit when you open the container. For example, there's a container right here as you walk in past Akko and before you get to Toshichi. This Tawara bag holds certain things. Since I waited, it has more items. It's not the best loot, but it's still good. Even better will be waiting until you get to Injiro to take on the loot from the containers that are hidden inside their hideout. So if you head on back, all these people watching you as you go back here and try to loot them. Oh, I always get distracted by that one. There we are. Now I ended up with 2 straw cloaks and bandit headgear. Cool, now I have different clothes to wear. That's fun. And then the other one, we go right by the bandit leader and we just say, hey, thanks for your stuff. Whoa. Oh, 5 Sochu. Okay, I'll take it. And sickness medication is great. So now we've gotten better loot, given that we waited until we took our boon. You can also apply this to any looters that you take down and the loot that they drop and all the other enemies that you fight. Thinking about enemies, the type of enemy you face matters. So bandits tend to have slightly better weapons, and looters have horrible weapons. Deserters have decent weapons, bronze swords, things like that. And your Ashigaru have nice weapons. Your Ronin have very decent weapons, fairly good. Pirates tend to have good bows and a lot of tantos and things like that. And your outlaws have good tantos, not the best. And then your samurai have the best weapons. Whenever you defeat one, they drop the weapon that they were holding. Now this person was holding something totally not worthwhile. So we can take that, we can sell it. Loot is better because we took on the Boon. And we take out wolves. Side thing, when you're hunting, remember, wolves are kind of obnoxious to hunt and they don't give you a lot of resources. Boars are the best. As a quick mini tip, keep in mind that there are beggars out and about in the area. For example, we have one here outside of Iwasake. There's another one that's right in the temple grounds area. Now these beggars sell broken items, and it may seem like it's not really worthwhile, but a copper kama and a copper hammer are easy to repair here at our home. Now I have a fully functional copper hammer. I can now repair my copper kama, and now I have 2 new tools that will make the difference for me. Why do I want a copper hammer? Obviously for building, you knew that, but why the kama? Harvesting grass is rather annoying, and if I have a kama, I can just run through and harvest a bunch of it. Now this made all of my work so much faster, so I can build roofs for my simple structures and those improvised beds early in the game, and that saves me tons and tons of my time. When you get your weapons crafted, it's going to be interesting to take a moment to learn what combos they do. For example, if I do fast attacks, you're going to notice that I can do all stringed fast attacks and we'll do some stabs. We can also do strong attacks and then fast attacks, or we can do combinations of strong, fast, strong, and then that gives us different strings of combos. We can also run and jump, which I find that move actually does a good deal of damage to enemies when you're running. You can also, with your skill points in Warrior, unlock certain key skills, like Sprint Attacker. You saw me do one of those a moment ago. There's also a great Advanced Dash, which allows you to sprint and attack from a greater distance. That is so worth it. And it is nice to have Powerful Charge, so you can perform a powerful heavy sprint attack. That is awesome as well. I find those to be quite fun to use. Perfect. Parry is a very good thing to invest in early. When you look at the combinations for your weapons, I tend to prefer the Tanto as you saw earlier, but my next favorite is going to be the Naginata, where you can string together a number of fairly significantly powerful attacks by choosing fast attacks and strong attacks. And when you do strong attack, weak, weak, you can get a good deal of juggling attacks that just constantly put the enemy at their guard. I am not as big of a fan of the spear, though I believe there's definitely a place for it. Some of the attacks are fast and do a lot of damage as long as your enemy stands in a convenient location, but often I find that these combos don't have enough attacks compared to things like the Naginata, where I am now casting a wide range of attack across the battlefield, so I am getting enemies as they come towards me, and I can change my positioning as I go to control the battlefield better. When you choose to engage your enemies, keep in mind too that having to sweep the battlefield isn't as necessary if you lock on your target. For a controller, I'm pressing down the right thumbstick and now my character is directly looking at this one enemy, and that will mean that I always look for their attacks to come to me and my targeting will always hit them, meaning I don't have to be as accurate with that spear. I can simply use this to help me get these hits in. On the mouse and keyboard, it is the T key that will lock and unlock your targeting. Key aspects that we have to think about as we're in combat are that we need to defend ourselves, and keep in mind if you are locked in and you are using a bow, you will fire arrows at them as long as you aren't aiming, because as soon as you aim you break your lock. But you can simply lock on and fire your arrows, and it makes it easy. You will not be getting headshots, but you will easily get your hit on your target. Switching can be a bit of a challenge when you're on controller, as it's not as fast as just pressing the mouse button to go or pressing a keyboard key to switch. So do be ready for that and make sure that your quick slots are in a spot where it's very convenient for you. Now with this, when we lock on, we can easily make our moves. Keep in mind blocking is a good move to do. Watching the blue bar above them gives us an indication of how much they have before they lose their poise, which in the Souls light style combat means that they'll have a guard break that you can easily break through and do extra damage to them. So once you break down that blue bar, they take extra damage for every hit you deliver to them. The same is true for you. And poise is influenced by the type of armor you are wearing and certain key traits and perks that you choose here. Having better armor matters. In early game, you're not going to have great armor, so I suggest using your bow for a good while, unless you love doing melee combat. Also suggest making sure you have an extra weapon in your inventory for the kind that you use the most often. For example, I use the Tanto a lot. It's fast, it does a lot of damage, it's easy to deliver a great deal of impact with this over time. But when this breaks, I am going to have to switch my weapons in the middle of combat, and sometimes that's super slow, and as you saw before, that can be kind of make the difference in things. Right in the middle of this, notice how we're going to... There it goes, breaks right in the middle of combat, and now here I am stuck. But if I didn't have that weapon ready, I'd be chopped up and done. But by having that extra Tanto in my inventory, we were able to immediately equip it and move on. Keep in mind as well that you have extra moves that you can do other than just blocking. You can also dodge back. So as we are moving, we can... If we get somebody too close, we can jump back to dodge, or we can jump to the side. When somebody's launching arrows at you, this can make a difference for you. Keep in mind that block is going to be really powerful for you. If you time it right, you can parry. You want to be timing it just so that you can easily get right as they're attacking, you're blocking. You'll note that I'm not doing much to block right now, not for parry anyway, as I don't have that unlocked yet. Let's unlock parry and check this out. Now the sooner you can unlock this and maximize it, the better. Now when we're in the middle of our combat, we'll be able to use the ability to parry. And parry abilities allow you to drain that poise bar quicker. Now you can hear the difference in the sound, where a block has a certain noise to it. That's a parry. And with a block, it's just a ding. And notice how far down his poise bar goes. Now, with him down and with his poise bar completely drained, it's easier to get hits on him. Now that he's up again, though, I'll have to juggle between heavy and weak attacks. Quick and hard attacks do allow you to really and keeping them kind of on their heels. Not far from our village is a small group of looters, which is really handy. Now, keep in mind, enemies they get tougher and tougher as the game goes on. And as we go, we're going to have to deal more and more with them doing more damage to us, or with them having better weapons. Keeping in mind that as we control the battlefield, we can choose how and when we want to attack. Watch your health bar, obviously. When they have their weapon out, they will drop the weapon that they had equipped when they died. So in this case, the enemy dropped a short bow, whereas he dropped a stone knife. It's convenient for this because if you go and attack enemies with a higher level than you, say if I go and attack Ronin and I attack pirates, and they drop a weapon that's really good that I don't have access to yet, I can get access to a version of that weapon. It will be a broken version, so it won't last long, but some of those can last quite a while and get you through. Villagers are the most important part of the entire game. They are what make you the hero of the story, and they are what make it so that you can gather resources and have a village. You can rescue people by finding them out and about in the map, where they may have some guards like you saw here. You can then take on these villagers and navigate over to population, and then assign them a home from here. Once you assign them a home, as long as you have a workplace, you can assign them a workplace that they can participate in. Keeping in mind that sometimes they start at 0 productivity, be sure that you increase it. And keep in mind that with your workers and what can they access, I am building in the Enduro Rebels region, but I haven't liberated this region yet, which means they cannot gather copper nor tin ore. Your villagers can always gather basic resources, which include rocks, straw, grass, and then also your conifer logs, your deciduous logs, but never premium conifer or premium deciduous, or iron ore, or copper ore, or tin ore. I find that places like Central Plains region are exceptional because gathering ice through your mining station is a big deal, and gathering paper trees gives you access to paper bark and also premium deciduous logs. You get access to premium deciduous in general here, but the paper logs are the right way to go. Premium conifer I find more beautiful for the siding of your homes. I find them to look better on the sides of homes, but that's really what I use premium conifer for. There are certain shrines that require certain premium logs, and you may notice that as you go. Clay is a resource that's tough to justify a workstation out of because they just don't produce enough. And lastly, fruit trees are only in these two regions, and you'll be waiting a while before that. But you can, and as you'll see later in the video about the villages, you can buy the logs from Segi and the merchants in Segi after your first season. Villagers can also be recruited at your bell. After the first night of when your bell is placed, you will notice that villagers start showing up. Random refugees start showing up here, and you can hire them directly from here. You can also find villagers in the map and out and around. There's random refugees that spawn in just random POIs, points of interest around the map. You can easily get them there. You can also find them at refugee camps that show up in key locations at towns or the temple as well. There are Atane's refugee campout is out in this region. You'll see it if you have the luck that they are randomly chosen to be here. For the temple, you'll see them in the background here amongst the trees in this region here, if you end up luckily getting the refugees here. And Iwasake, I find them over in this region here. In this playthrough, the random was a little different, and there's one villager here. So this is Segi, and you can see the refugee camp for them is on the other side of the river, by the bridge. You can assign your villagers to jobs, or you can assign them to places you want them to be in two different locations. So with my person here, I'll assign them to a home. Let's get them in there. Now I can click on their name here and assign a job here, or I can click on the jobs tab if I just want to see where are these jobs at. Now it is handy to do this since you can see all the jobs kind of spread out for you, and I do want to let you in on a quick wonderful little secret if you want to take advantage of timing. I tend to do all of my hiring and walking around at nighttime and gathering villagers so that I have the entire night to gather them up. I have the entire night to take care of their needs and make sure we're ready to go. But something to make note of is that it doesn't matter when you assign your worker to this job. For example, I have not had this person wandering around all day. And also to make note of, you can pull axes out of your inventory. You can also pull an axe out of your player's inventory as well if you want to assign one. Well, they haven't been working the entire day. As long as I assign them before the early evening, when work is completed and when their consumption needs are taken care of, I get the entire day's work out of them no matter what. And there we are, our villagers just produced their needs for the day. Now, I did get all of my resources out of the deal, and now my tools have been demolished from that first day. So we have all the resources we can need because we got them assigned before they consume their needs. Speaking of consuming their needs, and also on special projects next, go to priorities and be sure that you look into this, because I intentionally uncheck certain things so that my villagers do not use things I don't want them to use. I don't want them to eat raw eggs or raw rice because I want to turn those into ingredients that are actually useful for more villager needs. For example, I would want them to eat cooked rice rather than raw rice. I just need the cooking pot ready to cook it. I don't let them eat fat or meat or fish, the raw ingredients. Again, I don't want them doing that because it's not worth as much food. And as long as I get somebody to cook it and take care of the needs, we are good to go. You will note that I left myself in a tough spot this time around, but I was in a hurry to show you things in this episode. But I also make it so they can't consume paper bark for heating or regular bark or sticks. That way I keep them prioritized on these items. I find straw cloaks to be an expensive thing early in the game for characters to make, but oil is easy because you can just convert fish and water into oil in a cooking pot or at a fishing workstation. And then for water and beverages, I don't want them using sake because sake will be used in making medicines. So I tend to uncheck this one so that I ensure that I have a nice amount of sake throughout the game that I can use to make medicines. And then as far as maintenance is concerned, I tend to uncheck clay because I don't want that to be gone. I want that to be available for me when I need it, and also straw. Health-wise, I tend to uncheck the ones that are for me for healing. I don't want them using up my healing compresses on accident, or healing balms on accident, or my healing brews on accident. I'd prefer that they just use the other things. And then the rest really don't matter. For spiritual, I tend to only uncheck things that I don't want disappearing, like statues. I want those around for my shrines. And that is about it for priorities. A key thing to remember is that special projects do not have to have a worker at them for any amount of time other than the seasonal change. You only need to assign somebody to a special project for the seasonal change, and that is it. So right now, I have a small population of people who are working, and I have some special projects that are ready to go. But I have not put anybody in those work slots yet. Day 4 out of 4, so this is it. I have to do a seasonal change after this, but I'm going to let them do their work one more time and then change it up. And now our work just happened. All the people produced what they needed to produce. It is the end of the season. You'll note that this is really it. I will have the game change seasons on me now. With that, I can wrap things up now before the end of this day. I do have a little bit of time left, so if there are any last minute projects that I really want them to work on, or any special projects I really want them to do before the seasonal change happens, I can kind of wrap that stuff up right now. Right now I've only got, four work slots for these different jobs. So there's only one more project I could possibly take advantage of at this point in time, since I only have 6 villagers. You already know the Sosogi Bridge is a big deal because it continues your storyline. It'll also allow you to hire on Toshichi. Now, the next thing that's important to note is that we have this little project here in Segi. It takes 5 workers, so if I could find some more people, I could make this functional and worthwhile. Meanwhile, there's another bridge project in Segi that just kind of sits here and is an optional thing you can do, which only requires 3 workers. Another good one is the small bridge project in Aratane, which doesn't require a lot of workers and is one of the liberation conditions, but honestly is really convenient to just have the bridge project done, so you later unlock this just by defeating the leader and the Ashigaru. I've pushed it back as far as I can so we can choose to change season, and then we go into our population and we decide on the jobs we want them to do, and we can assign them all to these different workstations for these special projects. Turns out I just barely didn't have enough, so what I'm doing is frantically grabbing my last workers. And now, check this out. We can still, even in this this 0th hour, where we're right at the end, we can still assign them in to there. We can still assign them into a job, and now I can still make this work. Truly the final moments. So here we go. We'll assign to the final bits here. All of our works, everybody has a job. I can now build 1, 2, 3 projects this seasonal change with a minimal amount of workers. Later on in the game, you'll have way more workers and you'll get a lot more done. Now, am I in a good spot? Not the best. We're going to be a little off on some things, and I could have done more and I could have cooked a little more to finish that up. When you change your seasons, which you can go accept if you want to just go forward, you'll see this animation whenever you finish a bridge project, and there's always something. When you finish a small bridge project or any other bridge or any other project at all, you'll always get a little cutscene. Now, the number of cutscenes relates to the number of things that you completed, so you'll note that I went 1, 2, and 3 cutscenes. So we know that all 3 of those projects were completed, and now we know that we got the experience for them, and we also have their unlock. However, they're related to unlocks. Like here you see, construct Aratane Small Bridge is done. So now all I have to do is defeat the Ashigaru leader and the Ashigaru, and then I instantly get everything for the liberation of that region. That's really convenient, because now the timing on when I get access to all the things here is based upon me just defeating enemies, which I can do anytime during seasons. There are 3 villagers at least that you can take on from Sosogi. One is Soyuri, which you get as soon as you say that you've been helping neighbors out to Toshichi. Now I finished up the small bridge project, which means that I'm also at the point where I get to go back to Toshichi and tell him that I finished it, and then hire him on as well. There you go. Happy about rebuilding the bridge? Great. And then he's going to tell me about the next quest, but then I'm going to say, what do you plan to do next? Answer is yes. And then he joins our village, and there's only one more person. We can also take on Mata, who is the local herbalist and medicine woman. So when we go to her, we can hire her on. Aren't you tired of living like this? A proper home near the mushrooms? You got it. And there we have it. 3 more villagers right out of Sosogi. So as you feel like you're rebuilding Sosogi, you can take these people on as well to continue that idea. In your travels and as you go, it's really important to know what the different villages can give you and what they're useful for. Sosogi obviously isn't a village, so let's begin with Injiro Rebels. This is a nice place to gather up some iron ore from the mine over here, as you saw before, and the traders here have general goods. There's also some loot for you to get, but that's about the extent of what you're going to do here. Segi has carpenters and woodworkers and hunters, so you can buy logs and other assorted woodworking items from these individuals. They get higher quality items as you continue down the seasons and change seasons and gain more and more dynasty reputation. Now, hunting traders, obviously same story, where they'll get better and better weapons and items as you go, but they'll always have some key resources as well, like basics like feathers and meat and fur. You can also get your Wild Hogs quest line from this gentleman right here named Bowmaker. His name is actually Fujichi. And then you'll begin on a quest line with him, and this quest line will get you to Wild Hogs, which will get you the excellent meat meal, which is an excellent meal, and is a good set of missions to do. It is the special mission of this area. Because Segi is the hunting village, it does make sense that they'd have a lot of good hunting options. If you go down this river line here, you will find deer on the way in, and then boars in the swampy areas. And boars are the easiest things to hunt in the game. I find they're great, they give you a lot of resources and a lot of meat, and they're pretty easy to take down. Aratane is all of what you need for farming and herb needs. So we are here on the map, and we can get our farming and food trader. This gentleman has everything we could possibly need. Lotus root is great for medicines. You can buy all manner of seed bags from this gentleman. Getting canola early is nice, and buying food is incredibly cheap and a great way to take care of your food issues in the early game if you don't have farming online yet, because it does not take much to buy him out of rice and buy him out of soybeans, and I'm still sitting with a lot of money after that. This is not a bad way to get an early jump on making recipes. The herb traders will also help you out. Healer, sorry. They have herbs and mushrooms that you can easily buy for cheap, and sometimes even food goods. And tea. And tea can be very helpful as well for beverages and for making medicines. The quest line here in Aratane is of rice and men. You'll talk to this village councilwoman, and she'll start you off. Now, they need you to buy wheat, and they need you, well, not buy, they need you to grow wheat and grow wasabi. But guess what? You can often find this guy selling wheat right there. I just need 50 wheat. Well, guess what? That counts towards the 50 wheat I'm supposed to buy, or produce. And then I can also buy wasabi either from that gentleman, or if I can't from him, I can also buy from the herbs trader right here. And there we go. Now I have 35 wasabi, and I can continue on down this quest line. The rest of it will take you through where you meet another person, a refugee who's just trying to find a way to live in the area, and you'll get to hire them on over time, and then you'll finish out the quest line for this councilwoman by causing a scene in the village. And from it, you get a good deal of experience. Temple is located on the southeast corner of the map. You obviously have to go to the abbot here to get your quest lines to get more village bells. The warrior monk will sell you weapons that get better and better over time and certain tools that are decent. The person who I really care the most about is the exotic goods trader, because if you want to buy your way out of having to make anything, or you just want a way to get some of these items, you can. It's not bad, but things are expensive here. Getting the ice here is convenient, but expensive, as you can see. There are other traders. The food trader is okay, but you'll find food traders everywhere, and the beggar can have some great items if you're lucky. Onsen is the hot spring located here in the mountain region. Now, the fun thing about the hot spring is that if you go into the hot spring, and there's one here, and there's also one hidden in the temple region, it will instantly start healing you. So if you ever need a healing, just real quick, you can jump in there if you want. There is also a tavern keeper that sells decent stuff. Obviously, this stuff is going to be expensive. It also provides a really convenient fast travel location to get to the fight that you'll have up here in the mountain area. Iwasake is prettier at night, so I recommend you come here at night sometime just to see it lit up with all the lanterns and whatnot and all the fires. It is neat to see. I think it's a beautiful scene, as long as you're willing to forget the fact that this is a slave labor camp. Now, the mining trader in the future will have better resources. I still think that buying stone is convenient early on if you don't have a mining post, because stone is something you'll need a lot of, especially if you're going to build a lot of water fields or other assorted items. So I consider this an easy, okay buy, because it's cheap and you can get a lot of it and it helps you out. I don't tend to buy the resources because they are expensive. Your quest line here is going to be from a gentleman named Andong. In order to find him, you can either talk to someone or get lucky and find him. We're looking for a person who knows a lot about ironworking, and then they immediately tell you how to find Andong, and he'll issue you the quest of this particular village. And this one, this is going to be tricky. This is a nice little story. Getting iron is easy. Just go into the mine up here with a shovel, and then you can easily get some iron ore from these small deposits, and then you can turn them back into him. This quest is going to take you till later in the game because the tools you need to make are made of steel. Did you know you can rename your village? You probably did, but if you just click here, you can rename your village, and you can even change the symbol of it, which could be great because then you can kind of differentiate your villages so it's clear to see. So let's call this Seaside, just so that I know where I'm at. So now I have Seaside, and then when I look at jobs, what's convenient is when I look at what my jobs are, that symbol tells me it happens in the village of Seaside. Later on in the game, when you have more workers and more villages, as you can see here, now I can see by these symbols where are they located at. Be sure to choose the symbols in such ways that they really help you make sense out of where they are, so you can kind of figure out what you need to do and where you need to be. Did you also know that you can rename your buildings? For example, I just renamed this building Tempura because this is where I'm going to make all my tempura. Then when I go into population, I go into jobs, sorry. Look at that. Here's my tavern that's named Tempura. I have a tavern workstation here that I know I need to turn into just tempura. Nope, sorry, up here. These ones, because you can see the symbol for the same village, I need these ones to be set up so it's all about tempura here. I could also have this one set up if instead I wanted to rename this to say healthcare needs, so that I'm focusing this one on sales of non-alcoholic beverages that do better for healthcare jobs rather than for coin. Then that could be another way and another reason I name it that way. It gets a little more challenging with other buildings where you can't see the name until after you click on it. So for example, I renamed this carpentry workstation to say planks, which is I want this place focused on making planks. So I did the wrong job for this particular one here. I would prefer that this one was actually working on taking my logs and turning them into planks. So then I would do this instead so that I'm getting the right workstation. And then since I know both of these have to be in the same spot, then I know that right here, this is supposed to be me turning these into planks, so I'd change these jobs over just so that I'm keeping track of things as I read them. But remember, this is just go up to the building, press E to rename the structure, or on your console, you're going to press X in this case. Thank you for joining me for this video. I hope this has helped you and have you get the best you can out of all you're doing in this game. I hope you enjoy going from being a simple person who crashed on the shore to having a thriving village that you can enjoy wandering through as you go. Take care.